Hi guys, welcome back. So we are still busy with our revision of finance and growth. Remember, we started with looking at some simple growth and we looked at a few things that were important for us to calculate and the types of questions that we normally have to do. So you know, it's always four things. Either you calculate the accumulated amount, the principal amount, the number of years, or the interest rate. Now let's look at some compound growth and see what are the types of questions that we will be expected to actually answer whenever we are faced with financial mathematics. Now remember, we are still under growth and the main focus is on patterns. Now we are on the second pattern, which is the compound pattern. Now Sergio receives an amount of 5,000 from his parents for his 18th birthday, right? For his 18th birthday. He decides to invest that money to assist him to start his business when he's 25 years old. So remember, at 18, he's in grade 12, he's finishing off grade 12, and the parents say, hey, let's surprise you with some 5,000 so that you can start your life after matric. And he decides, no, I will just save that money so that when I'm 25 years old, I can start a small business for myself. And then remember, financial literacy is really, really important. So bravo to Sergio to want to do that. Now calculate how much Sergio would have after he turns 25 years of age. If the bank offers him 6.75% per annum compounded annually. Remember, compounded annually means Sergio will be getting the interest at the end of every year for the duration of his investment. Important, we start with data. We want to know how much Sergio would have, but now we're dealing with Sergio being 18 now and going into 25. So from 18 to 25, remember, that's going to be 7 years. So it means the investment will be 7 years for Sergio to be able to accumulate some interest at 6.75. Now we always start with our formula. Remember that 1 plus I to the exponent of n. Sergio invested 5,000 into 1 plus, and the bank was offering him 0.0675, and this was for a duration of 7 years. Now we're just gonna quickly go to our calculator. Guys, remember, you don't need to crack your brain about mental maths or anything like that. Just press the calculator. As long as you press it correctly, everything will be okay for you. To the exponent of 7, and this will be 7,898. So Sergio will have 7,898 as his investment amount, which is quite good enough to actually start a business, a small business that is, depending on what you want to do at the time. Now, Nceba invested 500,000 in the share market, right? He managed to secure an average compound interest rate of 14% per annum during the first 2 years. So this is for 2 years, right? So it means for the duration of the investment, which we do not really know, the first 2 years, Nceba accumulated an interest rate of the 14%, which was given to him on compound interest. Calculate the value of his investment at the end of the 2-year period. So remember, always start with data. Now A is equals to P into 1 plus I to the exponent of n. The P value will be the 500,000 that Nceba invested in the share market. 1 plus the interest was 14, so it's 0.14, and this was to the exponent of 2 because it was for the first 2 years. So this will be 500,000, 1, 2, 3, into 1 plus 0.14 to the exponent of 2. And Nceba will then have 649,800, right? 649,800 rands. Now, the question continues to say, now during the next 3 years, right? Remember I said we don't know how long this investment is going to be. But now they are saying during the next 3 years, Nceba then managed to secure an average compound interest of 12% now per annum. What was his investment then worth at the end of the next 3 years? So remember, at the end of 2 years, Nceba's investment was 649,800. That's what now he has. So for the next 3 years, this we take it as our P value and not the 500,000, which is normally what we make as one of the examples. So I left it there so that I show you that this is not really going to be the case. Why? Because this was initially when Nceba opened the investment, right? But now if I draw just a timeline for this, at T0, Nceba invested that amount, which was the 500,000. But now at T2, the 500,000 became 648. I think 49 and 800. And this was left in the bank for the next 3 years, or in the share market for the next 3 years, which adds up to being T5. And that's how much we want to find at the end of the 3 years, meaning at the end of the duration of 5 years, how much did Nceba have in his account in terms of the share market. But let me just verify what the amount was again. So the amount was 649,800. That was correct. So the P value, please note, it's not going to be the 500,000. It's going to be what the balance is in the bank account at the time. So this will be P into 1 plus I to the exponent of n. So this is 649,800 into 1 plus the interest now went down to 12%, and this was for 3 years. After we calculate this, this will tell us how much Nceba will have at the end of his investment with the share market. So I will just say answer, open bracket, 1 plus 0.12 to the exponent of 3, and this will give me that amount. So it will be 912,922 rands. So remember, this is 912,922 rands. And let's just look at how many cents are there. 21 cents. 21 cents. Remember, we're talking money, so you're not gonna say 0.21. It's 21 cents. So you can see that although a share market, guys, remember when we were looking at the random growth, we spoke about the exchange rate and how sometimes it fluctuates, at times it goes down and all of that. So the share market is not really that much of a trusted thing, especially if you're looking for a short-term investment. But if you're looking for a long-term investment, trust me, you will get some money, because at times you'll find that the inflation shoots up and then you make a very big comeback in terms of your growth, or it goes down and then you lose the money that you saved. So make sure that you make sense of what you are trying to do, and if you do not know, seek advice from the relevant people who can advise you on these things. But you can see that Nceba actually took a risk and said, no, I'm investing this for 5 years. Although 5 years is part of the long-term thing, because long-term, really, if you say for 3 years, 3 years is not really that much of a long time. And remember, with compound growth, the longer your investment is, the more money you are more likely to get. Even with simple interest, it's really the same thing. The longer your investment is, the more money you are going to get. But the shorter it is, not really much that you're going to get from it. So just make sure that you know that for a fact. Now, what amount must be invested now in order to receive 650,000 in 5 years' time if compound interest rate is 6% per annum, right? So what amount must I invest now talks about the P value. So what must I put in the bank now so that 5 years later I can have 650,000? So the value of A is the 650,000. So this will be A is equals to P1 plus I. Remember guys, I will always stress writing down the formula before I perform any calculation. So this is 650,000 is equals to, I'm trying to find the value of P into 1 plus my interest is 6%, so that's 0.06 to the exponent of 5, because that's for 5 years. So remember to avoid rounding off as you are busy working out. So I'm just going to do this as one long calculation. Firstly, we can start with our bracket and see what we get. 0.06 to the exponent of 5. And that's a very long decimal, you see. So if you were to be writing down your answers as you're calculating, one will be tempted to write this as 1.34, which will then make your final answer to be incorrect. So please try by all means to run away from rounding off until you get to the final answer. So 650,000, I'm just going to say divide by answer. So one trick again guys is just try not to use the on button when you are under financial math or statistics for that matter. When you're doing stats, we don't play with the on button, rather we play with the all clear button so that we can just clear the screen and continue calculating, because the calculator normally stores the memory and the data that you are busy calculating. Then you can keep on pressing things like answer, find out what the answer is and all of that. So just try to run away from using the on button, because it's going to really cancel everything that is on the storage of the calculator. So what you must invest now to get 650,000 in 5 years time is 485,000. So 485,717 rands. And that's the P value. And this has a couple of cents with it, which is 81 cents. And that's the amount you must invest now. So this is us trying to find what the value of P is. Now, Janet invests 80,000 and it accumulates to 90,000 over a period of 2 years. Hey, guys, let's talk about this. You see, whenever I'm reading this question, I'm thinking to myself, how I wish to have an investment that will give me 10,000 within 2 years on my investment. Really, I would take that up any time. So make sure that you do your research though, because you know there's also fly by nights in terms of these investment schemes that you normally take. So you make sure that it is a legit thing through a bank or so. But with this one, I really wish to be here right now so that I can also get this much money. What compound interest rate will she need to receive in order to achieve this? So we want to know, if she goes through a bank and says, I want to invest 80,000, but now I want it to be 90,000 in 2 years. What interest rate must she then talk to the bank about in order to get this? So this will be A is equals to P into 1 plus I to the exponent of N. So we are trying to find what interest rate must she negotiate with the bank to say, please give me this interest rate in order to get 90,000 if she's investing 80,000 into the bank, and this is for a duration of 2 years. So back to my calculator, this will just be 9 divided by 8, and then from there I will take a square root on both sides. Let me delete the square root of the answer. It gives me that. Then I will just minus 1 there. and then you can see I will need to multiply this by 100. So not really that much of an interest rate. So you can talk to the bank and say, guys, like, just give me 6.1% maybe, and then it will definitely yield you that interest rate. So the interest is 6.07%. I think, yes, 0.7%. So you can see that's how much Janet can then talk to the bank about, to say, how about you just give me 6.07? And you know, whenever you need to negotiate, you must start by 7% and then go down. But you know that your goal is to get to 6.07. Now, a family of 6 mice can multiply into a family of 60 mice in 3 months. Calculate the estimated monthly growth rate for this, right? So remember, same thing. The A value is 60, that's what it accumulates to. P is 6, and then N will then be 3 months. We want to find what is our rate of growth there. So A is equals to P into 1 plus I to the exponent of N. And then A will be the 60 is equals to P will be 6 into 1 plus, I'm trying to find my I to the exponent of 3. And this is just for 3 months. Now, if you go to our calculator, this will be 60 divided by 6 is the same as 10. And then with the 10, I'm going to take out a cube root of this. So this will be cube root of 10. And it gives me that much. I'm going to subtract 1, and then that's what I'm going to get. Then if you multiply this by 100, you see, so roughly it will be 115% in terms of rate of growth. And this is a rate of growth of mice. That's what I was trying to show you in terms of the growth rate. Not financially so, but society so. So remember that the rate of growth does not only apply to money, but it can also apply to society. This is one example. So the rate of growth of mice can be 115. I'm sure some of us, we know that whenever we're walking on the streets and we're seeing these mice, we can understand why the rate of growth is this high. Guys, stay tuned. I'll be back with some more.